Welcome back. It feels so good to be back with you guys. Oh, I love being in front of this microphone. I love my podcast and Happy New Year. I hope that you had an amazing end to 2024. I hope that your holiday season was filled with love and light and peace. And I hope you're getting clarity and you're still resting in this water season of winter, even though we're in January. There's no rush in hitting the ground running and getting things together. And although I will say my January did start off pretty busy, I personally have had guests coming in and out. I have my mother-in-law actually arriving today, and we're taking the kids to Disney later this week. It's the first time for everyone, so there's a lot of excitement in the house, um, but a lot of planning as well. It's been a lot of planning, at times extremely overwhelming. But just a few days ago, I actually decided to let that go. I'm not going to overwhelm myself in the planning and the passes and the extra money and we have and the have tos and the do this is we are just going to go. It's everyone's first time. Like I said, we are just going and we're going to enjoy our time and we are just going to be in the moment. We are just going to be in the moment. So that's what's been going on. A lot of busy, busy, busy. I wanted to let you know a little bit about the podcast and where it's going. Um, I am back today with a new episode, but I have decided to pull back a little bit and will only be releasing 2 episodes a month. So I will be going twice a month. And that is because I need more time, to be honest. Podcasting takes up a lot of time. Every Monday I am recording and editing and producing my own podcast. So that's a lot of work and I love it so much and I don't want to let it go, but there's been a lot of um, incoming opportunities to work with clients and even build some other little thing to support what I've already created with Mind Body Home. And so there's a lot of excitement, but I need a little bit more space. I need a little bit more time back in my schedule. So I will be pulling back on the podcast. But regardless, you can expect the same content, all talking about mind, body, home, and ways to incorporate more balance and ease and flow into your life and your home. So, a part of that kind of segues into my word of the year. It's not something a word of the year is not something I've always committed to. I don't always get hung up on some of those New Year rituals, but for some reason, the word focus really kept popping into my mind. And it's a good word for me because my energy tends to be scattered a little bit because I am a strong wood element. I am always coming up with new ideas, taking action right away. But then sometimes I put too much on my plate and my fire goes out, or my fire is too scattered. It's like a bonfire and there's just like everything's blowing up in my face. So I'm really learning to sort of pull back a little bit on what I give my attention to, and that's really a big reason why I'm pulling back a bit on the podcast. But also, um, I've the last few years, so I'd say the last year and a half, as I've gone through my own transitions with moving, and I have transitioned a lot in my business, going from full service interior design to now doing full time coaching and consulting through home energy work. Um, I really spent a lot of time putting energy and focus and attention onto what I want that to look like. And so I feel that I've gotten it to a point where it's sustainable. And I had a huge influx at the end of the year. I'm filled with gratitude for an influx of clients who had come to me recently. And that was sort of my note or my, nudge from the universe that keep going. Like this is what you're meant to be doing. You're on the right path. keep going with this. So, this word of focus for me was just to focus on what I've already established. No more new projects, no more ideas about something else I could incorporate. So I'm giving a lot of attention to what I've already created. And that is specifically ways in which you can work with me. And that is through a home energy realignment session, which is previously known as my feng shui consultation. I'm slightly moving away from terminology such as feng shui, and I will be sharing more about that, I think, in a or in a later episode, excuse me. Um, but and the mind body home alignment one-on-one coaching program that I started back in the fall. So, I am putting my focus there. I do have some things that I'm going to be working on as it relates to those to sort of get more visibility and things like that. But for now, those two programs are really going to take center stage. And so I'm pulling back from podcasting just so I can put my attention there. So that's where the podcast is going. Focus is my word of the year. And that is a beautiful word for me to just, when I notice my wood element just getting excited about other things and other shiny new objects that pull my attention, I can quickly bring it in with that word focus. And I know exactly what that word means for me. And it's just a reminder to pull it in, Sarah. So, what else do we have going on? So, I'm going to talk to you today about stepping into 2025 and the power of the number nine. Um, we have our first full moon of the season, which was last night. And the energy is always still potent for a few days before and after. And I love this full moon in Cancer because it is a gentle reminder for us to stay committed to pause. Okay. Embrace where you are without rush. And we're still in that winter water element of pause and reflection, right? We have a few weeks left until the Lunar New Year on January 29th. So stay present, honor your emotions, especially those emotions that make us the most vulnerable, right? There's no judgment, there's no rush. We're just embracing where we are and where we've been, and we're tuning into what is next and what is possible for us, especially as we begin to embrace the energy of 2025. And like I said, that's what I want to talk about today. 2025 is a year nine. And the numerology speaking, number nine represents endings and new beginnings. The number nine has significant meaning for me. Personally, I know I've spoke about it in the past episodes, but specifically, my home in Pittsburgh was a nine home. It held the energy of nine based off the street address, and that's how you figure out your the energy of your home is adding all of the numbers up of your street number until you get to a single digit. There's some variations with that if you land on 11 or 22 or 33, like those are technically considered master numbers. So there's sort of like a crowning number, and it can get a little confusing, but overall, if you add all of the numbers up and keep adding them until you get a single digit, that is the numerology number of, or I'm sorry, the energy of your home based in numerology. Same thing with the life path number. When you add up all of the dates of your birth date, month, date, and year, and keep reducing it to a single number, you get your life path number. So I've been really getting into a lot more numerology, astrology. I love how there is so many whispers from the universe to guide us, whether it's following the stars, following our intuition. I love following it all because I think that they all provide a beautiful piece of insight that can help us on our path. Because you know what, guys, being human is hard. Living in this dense planet is hard. And so we need to turn to anything we can get to help ease the fear and the pain and all of the things, the suffering that we witness or experience in our lives. Turning to all these methodologies are a beautiful way to just help us take the next step on our path, to help guide us on what is meant for us, to find our passion projects and our purpose and bettering our life. And of those around us. So I've really been leaning into a lot of this stuff more and more. I've always been interested in it, but I'm really have dedicated to more of a hobby, I guess, to learning more. So as I said, the number 9 has a lot of significance for me. When I left Pittsburgh, my home in Pittsburgh was a 9 home. And, as I said, that represents endings and new beginnings. It's the home where we raised our 2 children in. So for us, it symbolized a new beginning, right? But even before having children, it symbolized a new beginning for my husband and I, because that was the first home that we had purchased after experiencing a financial hardship. The first time we lived in Florida, we were there and purchased a home during the real estate bubble, the economic crisis. Um, yeah, we got caught up in that, and it was actually the better decision for us was to foreclose on our home and file bankruptcy. So had I personally did not think there was ever any way we would have gotten approved for a loan, a home loan, in just 3 years following a bankruptcy, but we did. And when I spoke to the mortgage lender, she said, "You did everything that you should have been doing to repair your credit worthiness, and you did. And so we're happy to grant you this loan." And I don't know how common that is. To me, I feel like it was some sort of divine intervention, in the sense that the home that we did purchase, in my belief, was made for us, like that we were meant to live in that home. And the story is even more crazy. There's so many nuances that I probably am not even aware of in this moment speaking to you now. But, it was in an area of Pittsburgh that we weren't even really familiar with. We weren't considering. We were looking in areas that we grew up near. And, we were closer to our parents if we lived in those areas. But this home, I don't know. It called to us. It was for us. It was meant for us. So our new beginning started then. And it was sort of during this cycle of, financial hardship, that we had to learn a lot of lessons, and they still weren't done. The lessons still weren't done. There was still a lot to go through. I also started my business in that home, which was a huge beginning. Um, my first renovation projects ever on a home in this, which greatly contributed to my career at the time as an interior designer. Another new beginning. I did a lot of learning, air quotes, learning in my home before I would take that knowledge into clients' homes, right? So a lot of significance for that home for us. And interestingly enough, too, a lot of things we see with the 9 home, there's either usually a big move for the family, either entering the home or leaving the home, which was certainly the case for us. A big move from Pittsburgh to Austin. And yeah, so, eh, and just for me on a personal level, there was a lot of um, there was a lot of deep inner reflection going on there. I'd say I'd probably had my spiritual awakening there. A lot of, structures and ideals and, you know, things related to, how I was raised, and family structures and things that I had to sort of restructure for myself were in this home. So just I that home was really like the where I began the cycle breaking in my family. There was a lot of trauma and cycle breaking that needed to be done from my perspective. That doesn't mean that everyone in my family thinks that or believes that, but from my perspective, uh, that was a path for me, and that home really represented and sort of kicked off a lot of that for myself. So um, little bit of a personal note there, just on the number of 9 and how our homes can really signify and hold these energy cycles, just based off, the address. There's something bigger at play here. And you will find when you do the numerology, not only of the home that you're living in currently, but the home that you grew up in. You might find some um, dots that you need to connect there. So it's powerful, powerful information. It's something I provide to all of my clients in their consultation, because I think it holds so much power there for them to, there's a lot of revelation in just the power of numbers. So 2025 is a 9 year, because we add up all of the numbers of 2025, we come to the number 9. So 2025 is symbolic of new beginnings, and without new beginnings, we must have an ending, right? So there is, oh, and before I jump on that, I want to go back to my home. Interestingly enough, that home started a new beginning in Pittsburgh. And isn't it funny now how I've come completely full circle, and I've ended that journey and everything I experienced with that home and what that meant for me personally on a spiritual level, the self-development work I've done. Um, isn't it interesting how I ended up back here in Florida at the end of a cycle? It's powerful stuff, you guys. It's almost like the universe is like, okay, you were meant to be here, but now you're more equipped to be here. You've learned and grown so much, right? Like, so that's the power of energy work, understanding how things work from an energetic perspective. Okay. So, some things I want to share about the number 9, how it ties to our homes. There's a few areas in the home that, well, there's a few areas I want to talk to you about. The area that is represented by the number 9 is the area in your home that is called the fame or the passion area. Sometimes it's called recognition. It has a really strong influence upon your career. And so it's really more about how you're perceived by others, right? How others see you or how you want others to perceive you, right? And so when we think of fame and recognition, we automatically think of celebrities. But also, I want you to think about how many celebrities that you know of have walked away from their fame to seek a more quiet, a more private life. And we're seeing that a lot more frequently too. I think it's always sort of been at play, but I think we're really seeing that a lot, a lot, a lot. You know, this area 9, this fire, this passion, you know, it also represents, the light within, right? The element associated to this area is fire. And so it's almost about that inner light, right? A lot of time these celebrities, they walk away because they want to find that inner light within. So they go down these quieter paths, they want an inner knowing, right? They want to be out of the spotlight and they want to go into that inner spotlight now. So the energy of 9 in our home in the fame center is about transitioning from wanting to be seen a certain way by others, but then turning inward and accepting that the only perception that really matters is the one that you have of yourself. Okay. So it's represented by fire and passion, and it's connected to the heart. This energy is energetic, it's expansive, it feeds your inspiration, right? So you can enhance this area of the home with fire energy by using triangular shapes, the color red, and literal fire like candles. But I want you to keep it sort of limited on the fire element. You don't want that overabundance of fire, like I was mentioning at the beginning, where the energy just feels too much, explosive, kind of scattered sparks about. We don't want that energy. So you want it to be just nice and balanced. So you can also add wood energy to this area of your home to just simply fuel the fire, just to keep a nice little fire going, right? And you can easily do that by adding wood elements, anything green or things that are tall and columnar in shape. But you can also add some flowering plants or any green plant, really, like a healthy green plant. So, where is this area of your home? The fame and recognition and passion center is on the back wall of your home, and it is back wall center. Okay. So, looking at your back wall from left to right, what lands in the center? That is your fame and passion and recognition center. You can simply use this area to enhance too. If maybe you're approaching your boss for a promotion, or you feel like you're not getting the recognition you deserve at work or in a relationship or in a friendship, or, even by your parents or whomever, right? If you want to enhance that recognition, work with this area. But the balance is finding that inner recognition within yourself. Because if you have a confident perception of yourself, it's only natural that people will perceive you in that way. So, yes, it's about how others perceive you, but the question is, how do I perceive myself? That's the really important part here, I think, when working with this energy. And the reason we're calling our attention to it in 2025 is because it's associated to 9. And so maybe there's a part of you that doesn't feel that confidence in who you are, who you're becoming, w- what your job is, like what identities you have wrapped up in jobs and careers and, even relationships, like what is the identity that you see for yourself? Are you cultivating a healthy image of self? Because if you do, the image that others have of you is the one you want, right? So, because what we see in the outer is a reflection of our inner world. So, it's all about that inner cultivation of um, self recognition first. Okay. So, great space to work with in 2025. So, there's also another area you can work with, and that is the new beginnings area of the home. And this is also great for 2025 because obviously it represents new beginnings. Um, new beginnings represents family, more specifically ancestral family, not so much, your children and grandchildren. It's more past family connection. So, parents and beyond. Work with this area if there's been tension in the past with family, or like I had just spoken about generational cycles and ending traumatic ones. If you're creating new generational ideas and a new idea of what generational wealth is, which is like, I've been seeing these reels on Instagram. The new generational wealth is like a stable home environment. It's, understanding how to work with our emotions. It's knowing how to, regulate our nervous system. Like that's wealthy information, right? Not just this wealth in a way of like financial wealth, right? So, this is definitely an area of your home to work with to help heal past relationships, right? Endings, and begin new ways of being together with family beginnings, right? Or if it's not with family, which can also certainly be the case, sometimes when we outgrow past ideals or generational ideals of those in our families, many of us can be outcasted, so there is a need or there's a need and a desire and a sense of belonging that is innately human to us. And so maybe it's not a repair with your family. And if that's not an option for you, due to your own choice or the choice of others, seeking a healthy community, healthy tribe, um, is really important for you and your growth. So, this area can be incredibly useful in this example. I know a lot of the clients I work with, they certainly feel kind of a little, they feel alone in a sense. And I know when I was deep into we'll call it dark night of the soul, right? Like I needed to find my community, my tribe. I leaned heavily on people that were going through the same thing. And I can't really stress the importance of that is like healing in community is so powerful, so incredibly powerful and necessary. You cannot do this shit alone. You just can't. Like it's too dark, it's too painful, it's too lonely. You have to find the people that resonate with what you're going through to keep you motivated so that you don't go too deep and engage in activities that are, harmful for you. So, that's getting a little deep, but it's the reality of what a lot of people face when they are outcasted by family or they choose to walk away. So this is an incredible area to work with too, and I'm only bringing that specific conversation up because it's something that's personal to me. It's something I've certainly gone through myself, but I'm seeing this not only in myself and with my clients, but collectively speaking. There are so many people out there that are just breaking cycles of trauma and childhood, the way we were raised. A lot of that is just in a state of transition for what I believe the better. And it's only natural. It's only natural that we make that evolution as a species, that we grow from things that no longer serve us. And that is what the energy of a 9 year is here to help us embrace. Okay. So, you can also work with the new beginnings area of your house if you're starting anything new, a new job, a new relationship, a new family, right? These are all new beginnings. So, this area is related to the wood energy, the wood element, and the energy of spring, which is all about new growth and building and sustaining momentum. So, wood and water elements would be a wonderful addition to nourish and sustain growth for you. So where is this area located? This area is located on the left wall. If you're standing at your front door and you're looking into your home, this area is located along left wall center. Okay. So that is what I have for you as far as within your home. So, spend some time with this. You might want to work with the fame and recognition area. You might want to work with the family area. You might want to do a little bit of both. I know in maybe my last episode or the one prior, I talked about some other areas of the home to work with as you kind of bring things to an end. So you can kind of go back and listen to that one and see what feels, what resonates, what kind of aligns with you based on what you're going through, what you have coming to an end, what you have coming up for 2025. Our home really is powerful. And I want you to just reflect too, spend some time in that reflection mode. What is coming to an end for you? Not just in the context of the past year, right? And we're stepping into a new one. So what do I want for 2025? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really, really deep introspection here, like course of the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? Like COVID was 5 years ago. We all know it's changed our life. Have you actually reflected on how that has changed your life? You have new habits, new routines, right? None of us could have imagined, January of 2020, that we would have a permanent work from home situation going forward, at least while you're in, your current job. That might not be the case for everyone, but I'm just using it as an example, right? Like none of us could have imagined that for ourselves, whether it's wanted or unwanted. Some people didn't have a choice. Some people want to go back. Some people don't. It is what it is. But, how has COVID changed your life just in 5 years, right? Think about, who you were 5 years ago, your job, your role as a parent or a spouse. How has all of that changed for you? Is there something that is ready to be let go? Is there something that, has it created a lot of tension and stress in your life that's no longer serving you? Right. And it's not always about letting go, right? It can also just be an integration, right? It can be lessons learned or, how has what happened changed you or your life for the positive, right? Because it's not all negative. In fact, there really isn't any negative or positive. It just is, right? It's like yin and yang. You really can't have one without the other. You can't have positive, free flowing, at ease life or life circumstances unless you experience the so called negative situations that bring you to new positive conclusions. Well, I certainly don't want this, or I've had enough of living through or dealing with this, right? Those experiences force us to call forth what it is we don't want, and that is their only purpose. And when we're in the thick of things, we don't always want to hear it. I just had this conversation with a friend. She was very open and vulnerable with me and just said, when I'm going through it, she's going through a lot right now. And, she's like, sometimes when you say to me that this is all on your path for a reason and, you just have to get through it, like, it's not what she wants to hear. And I completely understand. And I do try to be hyper vigilant about my words because I don't want anyone to ever feel that way. And to be honest, I don't really remember saying that too much. It may have come out once because I personally felt in a way I didn't really have any other words for her. And sometimes no words are better than some, but it is what it is. It's all good. We talked it out, but I get that. I get that that's not what we want to hear, right? We don't want to be told everything's happening for a reason, but my friends, there's no other way. And the sooner we can accept that truth, because it is a truth, the easier it will be for us to find alignment with our higher self, with our source, and we can transcend our undesired situation or circumstance and utilize it as fuel for what it is we truly desire. And understanding that is rule number one, step number one in manifestation, right? Step number one is knowing what you don't want because life forces you to choose what it is you do want. And when you can stand in that moment, no matter how hard it is, and say, I'm going to get through this because this is just a step on my way to what's next. When you can be consciously aware of something negative happening to you and look it square in the eye and know that you're meant to go through this, you will have an easier time dealing with what you are going through. It's a hard truth, but it is an absolute truth, right? It's kind of like a renovation project with clients. We have to do the demo. It's going to be ugly before it becomes a beautiful kitchen. And that's the reality. And that's the vision. That's the vision we have for our kitchen, the beautiful stone countertops, the jewelry like drawer handles, the shiny new appliances, right? Like we have to hold that vision and trust that the way we pinned it in Pinterest and you know, the way that we want it to look is exactly the way it's going to. And that's exactly what you need to do with the vision of your life. You need to know what you want. You need to know what you want it to look like, right? And trust that everything that happens on the way to getting there is meant for it to happen. Okay. And just like in a renovation, you know, we don't always expect issues to arise with the subfloor or the plumbing or, the electrician quick. So the project's now 2 weeks delayed. It's the same analogy. We don't want to accept and address what's placed on our path because we didn't want it there. You didn't want a subfloor issue. You didn't want your budget to increase. You didn't want the project to be delayed, right? It's the same thing with our life path. We don't want to experience the hardships, the health diagnosis, the breakup, the loss of job, the unexpected move, the troubled child, is getting in trouble. Like we didn't put any of that on our path. We didn't ask for any of that, right? But if we don't accept it for what it is, if we don't acknowledge that doesn't matter what is put on our path, it's there for a reason, right? We end up with shitty electrical work. We have a safety issue. We have uneven floors, right? It all ends up costing us more in the end. And your life's the same exact way. So embrace what's here. Be present what's showing up for you because they're all messages from your inner self, the universe. It's trying to get your attention. It wants you to shift your focus back to your internal light, just like we started at the beginning of this conversation. We want what we see outside of us, but what's most important is what we see on the inside. Shift your focus back to your internal light so that you're guided properly. So, understanding that what you're being called to release or bring to an end, it is a little bit out of your control. There's power and energy behind a lot of it. It's a time of reckoning. If you refuse to let it go, if you refuse to integrate, if you refuse to transcend and step into what is next on your path, which you certainly can, we're all born with free will. Life will be more challenging. You will be going upstream. You will be going against the current. You will be leading your life in a way that is struggle, stagnation, more suffering. So take this opportunity now, again, with the few weeks left in January, to evaluate where you've been, reflect on what it is you're ready to bring to an end. You can still get my winter reflection journal. It's a free download. I have it in the show notes. Use it as a tool to help guide you into coming to know some of these answers for yourself. Work with the energy of your home to help connect the dots. The energy this year is powerful. What we are being asked to do is get really clear about where we've been. What do we want to take with us on this next path? We are entering another 20-year cycle. What do you want the next 20 years to look like? My friends, I am so happy to be back. Just as a reminder, I am going twice a month with new content here on the Mind Body Home podcast. So I will see you in a few weeks. I am wishing you so much love and gratitude. And until then, mwah.